the testing, the uncertainty of all this, and how that's changed routine and preparation.
I don't think necessarily you meet a little differently because a good chunk of your meetings are done, like this, virtually. I'm trying. I don't think you're practicing any differently at all. Now, whenever you're doing walkthroughs on your way to the practice field, obviously you're wearing a covering, a mask. I'm trying to think of what else might be a little bit. I'll tell you the other part might be a little bit different. In the weight room, you're aware of, how many guys you have in the weight room at one time. Trying to think of what else. Well, and then obviously you got to factor into your schedule a little bit, some of the transportation, at least for us, because we're at a hotel right now, and some of the additional time that's involved with testing, being able to get that done because we're doing that at least 3 times a week.
And do you test as a team? How does that logistically work?
Yeah, what they do is they all walk into the, the upper area there in Clune, right in between, right where the ticket office is, between the arena and where the ice is. And there's some different stations that are set up, and that's where we accomplish it.
I asked the players about senior day on, in a completely empty stadium. Now, for you, obviously, I know how much you value the hat throwing at graduation. How much for a football player do you think senior day, running out, seeing your parents in front of the stadium, how does that compare to the graduation moment?
God, that's a great question. A little bit of a deep question, too. I think they're 2 different events. The thing on the football part is just what you share with your teammates. And on graduation day, it's what you share with your classmates, both of whom you build some deep and really lasting bonds. And those are 2 pretty special moments, quite frankly. I think for a good number of our guys, those are 2 can be more of the memorable times that they have. Certainly while they're here at the academy, but even well beyond in the years thereafter too.
And do you think, are you still going to send them out one by one out of the tunnel and do it just like you would if it were a normal situation?
Well, we're going to do it a little bit differently, obviously. But we're going to recognize our seniors.
And how are you going to do it? I'm sorry.
Well, that's one of the things we're working through right now. The choice is to do it one by one.
Okay. And Colorado State, traditionally they've had one of those receivers that is a matchup nightmare. Now they've got a tight end who is one of the better ones in the nation, but do they have the similar threat on the edge?
There's no doubt. I think, oh my goodness, you look at their program as a whole, and I think, the things that are evident, they have their recruiting baseline, but the way they've been able to replenish, and really this is college football for recent years. I think especially the last 3 years ago, when college football 3 years ago went to 5 years of eligibility, that was a big deal. And it's probably even something here we need to look at, just in the sense that there's a way where you could still cover 8 semesters for any student at the academy. If they wanted to go take a semester and, go get additional flying hours, would be able to do that. If you wanted to go study abroad and it would help you become, say, a Marshall or a Rhodes Scholar, you could, or even athletically. If you wanted to shoot more jump shots or you felt like that would help you, I think that'd be a great thing to do. And you end up having a better officer. Now, that's a change, and that's difficult. I think the part, to answer your question, to get to is, you look at who they have, to have a transfer from, they've had transfers from recent years, whether it was Tennessee or Auburn. Yet at the same time, to have somebody as electric as they do there from Florida in his second year in right, and then to which you alluded, to have an excellent tight end. They're really, really good, and then to be able to add graduate transfers, whether it's a guard or a starting defensive end from Miami, or even both your quarterbacks. It's they are very, very dynamic, and they are, again, outside with what you said as far as getting guys down the field between the tight end and the receivers.
Troy, this is Kelly Lyle from the Fort Collins, Colorado. And I just wanted to ask you how dealing as a program, dealing with the uncertainty each week of whether or not games are going to be played, and just kind of how you and your team are handling that. You've obviously had 2 games that have been called off already this season, and just how do you approach that each week as far as just the preparation and that uncertainty of you're getting ready for a game, but come a couple days before you might find out it's not going to be played?
Yeah, Kelly, I think you stick to your plan, at least in the sense that, you're preparing for an opponent, and even more so, what can you do in that given day to help your guys improve as a team and certainly individually. And that's the way we operate. And that's the way we'll try to operate in any year. I think especially it brings it even more real this season.
And what level, as you go through your 3-time-a-week testing and all that, just is there a certain level of angst on your part, wondering every single time, when those results come out, are you going to test positive, or your offensive coordinator or your starting quarterback, and how do you kind of handle that?
Could happen. You're right. It's just, it's the environment in which we operate right now. Certainly we're trying to do everything we possibly can to reduce those possibilities. And yet, that's the climate.
You've had games called off, including one last week. 2 weeks ago. How is your team this week? Are you in pretty good shape as far as being able to play this game, or do you have to wait and see?
Well, our plan is to play. And now, when you say wait and see, as soon as I leave here, I'm getting ready to go do another swab test. So, we sure hope so. You just look in general, and I think where we're different, Kelly, is you look here. I think of our seniors. If you're at Colorado State, or you're at Wyoming or New Mexico, or you're at anywhere else in the league at 11 schools, there are 11 schools that could have 22 starters that come back next year, being real. Now, I don't think it'll be 22, but it may very well be 18 or 19. Just because this year does not count as a year of eligibility at 11 of the universities, where at the United States Air Force Academy, that's different. If you're a senior and you only have 8 semesters that are covered, in terms of your time that you're enrolled, that's a completely different experience for any of our young men. Or, if you were a baseball player last spring and, at any other school in the country, you'd still have that extra year to be able to go compete. And yet they finished in May and threw their hats in the air and graduated. So that part of it is different here, quite a bit different. And I think, that's why if the thought is, especially with our guys, that's why you want so badly to play these. You want to play these games anyways, but I think it's even more heightened for our guys that are seniors here, all of our guys here at the Air Force Academy, just because even if you're a junior, it's not like you get to repeat the junior year. I was thinking back, who are we getting ready for? We were getting ready for Wyoming 2 weeks ago, And Kelly, we're getting ready to play a quarterback that played, now that there are 5 years of eligibility, which changed again 3 years ago, we're getting ready to play Levi Wallace, the quarterback. He played against us in 2019 as a freshman. This year in 2020, he was a freshman because he played in 4 games or less. And guess what? Next year when we play against him, guess what he's going to be? He's going to be a freshman. So, it's a little bit like if you're playing cards, if we're playing poker, some places they get 5 cards and they're able to make a full house or a straight. And, so that's a different deal. That's why I think even more so for us, why we just hope like crazy we get to play.
I guess the only final thing I wanted to ask you is, how different are the testing protocols you guys have to go through to follow the Mountain West guidelines versus what cadets are going through anyway, just to be on the academy grounds and be in school and in contact with each other?
Yeah, I mean, there's frequent testing here with our student body or the cadet wing. I mean, just really, really vigilant in that regard, just because our preference was to see if we could do in-person classes, because you learn so much better when it's eyeball to eyeball. Even probably these conferences are better when it's in person. I think what's conveyed in regards to the communication is better, the quality of it, and I think especially when you're learning. I mean, if a teacher's working with a student, the student wants to see certain things that are truly conveyed, and in turn, as a teacher, you like to look into the eyeballs of your students. I think one of the real advantages we have at the Air Force Academy is we have small classes. Our student-teacher ratio is 8-to-1, and I think, especially for a good bit of the content that you take here, that's, you need that interaction, and that was our aim, to see how far into this semester we could do that academically, and yet here over the last 3 weeks, we've had to do a good bit of it now remote. Hopefully that's something that's very temporary.
How weird is that going to be in an empty stadium,
Yeah, it's definitely going to be weird. Usually there's parents there to support you on the field, especially on senior day. But we've been dealing with it all year with empty stadium. So, it's going to be my last day in Falcon Stadium, but we'll just keep playing like we've been playing all year. So,
this streak you guys have going against Colorado State, is that a pretty big sense of pride?
Yes, sir, absolutely. We take pride in being CSU. They're our state competitors, and we love being state champs. Last year we got it done, and hopefully this year we can get it done again.
And when you look at this defense, obviously, you were a guy who's been around, but most of the guys around you were not. Is that feeling changing? Like, is it not so much a bunch of new guys anymore, or is it still, because of the injuries and everything else, does it still feel like every week you guys are patching it together?
No, it feels normal now with guys like Youngblood and then Mock earlier in the season, and just other guys stepping up. Everyone's going to play their hearts out, and it feels normal with everyone playing now, even though they're newer guys, but even the freshmen, it still feels normal.
Okay. And have you enjoyed your time at the hotel?
It's different for sure. I would say I do enjoy living with all the other football players. Like, that's nice. But it's still the same. We're still in classes and shaving every day. So, but yeah, I do like living with my football buddies.
Any fun stories, anything, or is it just so isolated that you're just not even physically interacting with anybody?
Yeah, it's pretty isolated. It's all us just in one hotel, so it's just nothing much really going on.
Okay. And then with playing on Thanksgiving, you're from Texas, right? So I would imagine
Yes, sir, yeah.
That's definitely a football holiday to you. Does it feel right to be playing, or is there still a strangeness to that?
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. Growing up, we used to have like a turkey bowl with my family, every Thanksgiving morning. So now I get to play in an actual turkey bowl against CSU. So that's pretty cool.
So are you a Cowboys fan?
I am a Cowboys fan, yes, sir.
Did you guys have to do the turkey bowl around the Cowboys game?
We would always do it in the morning. So, yeah, it'd be before the Cowboys game.
Cool. And I don't know when you look at CSU's offense, you know, they don't have the big time receiver that they've usually had, but do they still seem like a similar version of what you prepared for the last 2 years?
Absolutely. They're still going to be a run first team. And then they also have Big 85 on the tight end, who's a really good player, and then 22 who can stretch it down the field. So, yeah, they're a good team still.
Now, will you be asked to pick up some coverage of McBride?
I mean, yeah, I'll be covering whoever I need to cover. Yeah, yes, sir.
Is there anything that, you know, a guy like that, what makes him special when you look, because obviously he's considered one of the better tight ends in the nation. You know, when you've looked at him on film or with what you remember in person, what makes him stand out?
He just plays really hard. He's a bigger body, and he also runs really well. So, yeah, he's a really good player.
Coming off that victory against New Mexico, how much are you looking forward to getting right back on the field and playing another football game almost back to back after you guys went 3 weeks without playing a game?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, the two games that got canceled or postponed, like, that was tough to deal with, and being right back at it in a short week, it's fun, and I'm glad we get to get back out there.
Defensively, you're coming off an effort in which you shut out the Lobos. Obviously, a lot to like about that. What's next for this defensive unit? How do you kind of build on an effort where you hold the team to 0 points?
Yeah, no, we just got to keep playing hard, and coaches give us a great game plan, and if you stick to the game plan, it should work out.
And obviously, you're not going to get to play CU this year, but you do get to play CSU. So is there a little bit of that in-state rivalry matchup, you know, something you guys look forward to say, hey, we're the best team in the state this year?
Absolutely. We take pride in being state champs. So, yeah, we really want to get this win against CSU.
Talk about the excitement level of playing CSU, an in-state rival, on Thanksgiving. Obviously, that's pretty rare, and in a career, you might only get one chance of that. So are you guys kind of looking forward to that rare opportunity?
Yeah, we are. I mean, during these COVID times, I mean, you never know what game's going to be your last because it's just so unexpected. So any game we get to play and you prepare for and just get to game day, I mean, we're always going to be excited.
Is it a little bit different when it is an in-state school? Obviously, last year you swept, obviously, CSU and CU. So I feel like that's something, a moniker you guys want to keep, right? Being the best team in Colorado.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's definitely something we're excited for because this is our in-state rival. But we just approach it like any other game, really, and just prepare so we're ready for the game.
Your team obviously coming off an impressive win against New Mexico, shutout 28-0. You ran the football for 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, how good is this team feeling, you know, heading into this game after such a dominant victory last Friday?
I think our group, we don't want to get complacent. We just try to keep or just take every game one at a time. And I mean, we don't really look at last week because this is a different team, and we're just focusing on the team in front of us. So Colorado State.
All right, thanks. Appreciate the time. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Go ahead.
Joshua, this is Kelly Lyle from the Fort Collins, Colorado, and just wanted to ask you how difficult the not knowing week to week whether a game's going to get played, or I mean, you guys had so much prep time for that first game, and then other times you're preparing for a game and it gets called off because of COVID issues with one team or the other. How difficult is that, not knowing, that uncertainty every week?
It's definitely different. There is a difficulty to it because it's just unexpected. It's when a game gets canceled. But, I mean, from a preparation standpoint, nothing really changes because it's just like any other regular season, even though this is obviously not a regular season due to COVID. But, I mean, it's just approached the same way. But there is a difficulty to it when you when there sometimes is an uncertainty if you'll play or not.
And then just what's it like going through all the various protocols as a player, as a cadet, the testing regimen and all that? Is it kind of taxing to just every time you're kind of waiting for that result going, am I good? Am I not?
I guess it can be taxing, but now it's almost kind of getting normal in a way because it's been happening for a while now and people are getting used to it. So, I mean, it's definitely different from last season, but now it just seems kind of normal, like what we're doing and trying to keep everyone safe.
How soon after your testing do you get your results? Do you personally know?
Usually it's the next morning, I believe.
So you like take them afternoon and get the results next morning roughly?
Yes, sir.
And that's 3 times a week?
Yes, sir. For the Mountain West, that's their protocol.
Okay.